Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 362, Outlines of Greek and Roman Medicine. Link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links are to my books blogs, 121 pages, so this is a bit longer, an intermediate read. Very, very good work. This is essentially a broad slice of medical history. It invokes literally every emperor, their health details and everything, all the major figures within medicine, and a lot of lesser figures, like everyone's heard of Apollonius. Everyone's heard of Pythagoras and some of his effects upon things. Very few people know who Andromachus is, so unless you actually are very interested in the subject, and hopefully some of you are. It's definitely one of the best works that I've edited. And contains some very, very interesting material, especially with relation to something that really wasn't widely known, at least by the public, but it was known, hundreds of years ago by academics, but the public's interest in anthropological and historical things, really like in the History Channel era, begins, I think, to increase broadly. Then you get like the Ancient Aliens, sort of herder sort of stuff. But they were trepanning and doing, basic brain surgery. They had speculums. They had all manner of bizarre equipment, even back in the Bronze Age. Certainly by the time of the heights of the Roman Empire had perfected many of these things. You had herbal medicine. You have every form of herbology and the use of minerals and so forth. Even in the dawn of Rome, long before it's an empire, certainly ancient Greece, they had their various recipes. So this particular book is split up into sections. Some of them talk mostly about the different periods, but also the different figures within those periods. So I think there's something like 50 or 60 unique surgeons and medical minds and philosophers that in some case just delved into medical theory. Certainly Galen would be the big one, Celsus, etc. Talks about the emperors. Very, very, very interesting lore about them. Again, sort of how they're treated. Some of them got along with the medical establishment, some of them a little bit less so, of course, and then you have issues like Apollonius being persecuted. He had weighed in on health matters to some degree, although that wasn't mainly his forte. And it goes all the way up through the Middle Ages, and it notes, by the way, and this shows that it was written by someone of Judeo-Christian background, it notes that medicine, by and large, collapses in the Middle Ages. Not ascribing that, of course, to the shift in religious attitudes towards medicine, which are very real, but it does correctly credit as well the Christian corpus in especially the High Middle Ages with bringing about the concept of mercy and generally like before. There was a lot of corruption within medicine, charitable medical work, a little bit. There were a lot of hucksters. Oh yeah, I'll cure your son of cerebral palsy. I'll cure you of this boil, but I'm going to need about 350. That was basically what a lot of the surgeons at the time did, or they were patronized by the rich, in which case they had their lifestyle. They had their lavish room, their concubine and stuff, and they would give medical aid to the emperor or some noble or something. There was some charitable work, but it wasn't so organized. There were a lot of different cliques, a lot of different individuals. The Christians brought about the concept of medical mercy as we would have it now, treating the poor, being maybe a little bit more, outgoing with regards to one's services because it was one's spiritual duty. This doesn't really exist in certain elements of paganism, and some of the pagan paths are more like, no, my religion is I go and I give the god their savory meats or their incense or something. The fuck does that god have anything to do with me treating you? You're not offering me anything for it. It's quite commercial. quite commercial in the same sense as like a modern big city. This is Rome at the time. So the Christians definitely influenced what became medical philosophy. Unfortunately, medicine itself and its various rigors was going mainly in the other direction. The old waterworks and sanitation process had fallen almost completely into disrepair. Sewer lines stopped working, etc. The Colosseum was a garbage dump by that point, literally, and also used for swine herding, or goats rather. However, there were, some improvements. It's just that they tended not to be actual medicine. It was the way in which you applied it. And if you look through, there's a lot about quackery in this work as well, which is probably what a lot of you are interested in. The weird, the bizarre, more superstitious side of medicine is quite frequent. And you've got to understand that a lot of times you'd have multiple major medical minds in completely competing philosophies. They disagree on what elements everything's made of. They disagree on what humors there are. They disagree on whether surgery is good, bad, or ugly. They disagree on the use of any herb or mineral under the sun. And it was all very, very competitive. So you get a little bit of like a palace intrigue sort of thing because you're switching leaders all the time. It depends on what they think is correct too, even if they don't understand medicine whatsoever. So again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. Highly recommended. If you're into medical history or ancient Greece and Rome at all, you'll love this work. Second and third links to my books, blogs. It'll go under the herbal category, predictably, where all the homeopathy and ancient medicine and history works are. Definitely. Highly recommended. That's about all. Peace out.